It was very gruesome. I just read the report this afternoon, and it was disgusting, to be honest.
A father is found stabbed and dismembered on the side of the road. His son charged with first-degree murder. Friends and neighbors share their shock with Fox 45 News as the search for a motive continues. Thieves walk out the front door of a store with its ATM. Why a recent spate of smash and grabs is triggering memories of last year's surge in similar crimes. A cold, wet, and dreary night stretches into tomorrow. The potential for a slick morning commute, and when this weather maker finally departs.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. A Carroll County community is shaken tonight as details of a recent murder come out.
Police say a Westminster man killed his father, dismembered his body, then dumped him on the side of the road.
Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor has the charging documents and spoke with the people who knew him.
Yeah, tonight, police not responding to our request for an interview, but charging documents I was able to get my hands on tell the gruesome story of how his son killed his own father with an axe. Neighbors and those who knew him saying that they are still in shock.
It was horrible to hear what we had heard yesterday.
In an otherwise peaceful part of rural Carroll County.
I grew up here, so this is very weird.
A disturbing discovery has Carroll Point residents on edge.
It's a very quiet, small town. Nothing crazy ever happens around here.
A police report making its way around town revealing 29-year-old Ravi Panseria accused of brutally killing his 58-year-old father, then dumping his dismembered body along this roadway just a few miles from their home. The body so mangled at first, the father was unidentifiable.
Unbelievable. Like, I couldn't believe it.
The report claims the father was reported missing by his wife and Panseria's mother, who all lived together at the time this tragedy occurred. It goes on to say Panseria's weapon of choice, quote, numerous tools were located in the garage which appeared to have blood, tissue, and hair on them. They also found an Ozark Trail hatchet purchased by Panseria at Walmart the morning of the murder.
I feel like I remember his father being a little bit more on the strict side, like when it came to like school and stuff. But again, like that, it was just 11 years ago.
Nicholas Higgins says he went to high school with Panseria.
He was just a normal kid, you know, grew up, rode in the bus together.
He never expected something so terrifying could happen not far from his front door.
It's terrible. My hearts and prayers go out for the family.
He also prays it never happens again.
I hope nobody ever has to go through that, you know, themselves ever again around here.
My heart goes out to that mom.
Panseria is being held behind bars without bail tonight. He's facing both first and second-degree murder charges. Reporting out of Carroll County, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
And this is just the latest murder we have seen in our area recently. Last week, we told you about the Baltimore City man who police say killed his girlfriend and disposed of her body using a shopping cart. You can find more on both crimes on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Turning to crime in a city in crisis, Baltimore is on pace to see 300 people killed for the 8th year in a row. Although September saw the fewest amount of murders the city has seen in 7 years. Non-fatal shootings are up compared to last year. 565 people have been shot in the city and survived, 27 more than this time last year. The latest data from the Baltimore Police Department shows burglaries are up 10% this year. Violent crime is up 7% citywide. And since his victory in the primary election, presumptive city state's attorney Ivan Bates says he wants to curb crime by bringing change to the city state's attorney's office.
Because right now, Baltimore, we're in our silos. We're fighting, but we're not fighting together. We fight together, we can win together.
Mr. Bates met with Governor Larry Hogan in Annapolis today, 5 weeks before the election. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost explores the possible motives behind the meeting and photo op.
This photo posted to social media sparking a conversation about how the presumptive next state's attorney in Baltimore City will run the office.
I think that this picture probably helped Hogan a little bit more than Bates.
Outgoing Governor Larry Hogan and Ivan Bates, who's likely the next top prosecutor, meeting in Annapolis. Hogan tweeting the photo, writing he congratulated Bates and talked about the path forward to holding violent criminals accountable in Baltimore City. Hogan's comments come somewhat as a critique of the current state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby. something the governor has not shied away from, especially when talking about Mosby not prosecuting certain crimes.
This horrifying violence is tearing Baltimore City apart. Obviously, the job isn't getting done. The current prosecutor is failing.
Even taking his criticisms to the national stage.
We have a prosecutor in Baltimore City that refuses to prosecute violent criminals, and that's at the root of the problem.
I regret even having to respond to the likes of this governor.
Mosby often quick to fire back.
What better way to do that than to attack the progressive black woman prosecutor in a majority black city?
Ivan Bates running his campaign, taking a tougher on crime approach, and now seems to be bringing that plan to the forefront.
Hogan's going to be gone in January. He's going to be yesterday's news.
Political analyst John Deedy says the photo op and meeting comes at a time when crime was top of mind for voters in the city, ousting Marilyn Mosby after 2 terms and violence continuing. But Deedy says the meeting was likely more for Hogan, as the term-limited Republican governor plots his next steps.
He's always been tough on Baltimore, and when he runs for president, I think Baltimore is going to become a piñata. He's going to take his shots at it. He's going to say, look at all the things I tried to do, and I had all these problems. And I think he wants to show that, look, I was on the side of law enforcement.
Deedy adds Bates meeting with the governor now could help in the budgeting process when whoever wins the governor's race in November takes over.
Hogan could still influence little things.
Ivan Bates will be the only name on the ballot in November for Baltimore City State's attorney, all but guaranteeing his victory. Deedy says when Ivan Bates does take over, all eyes will be on him, watching to see how he handles prosecuting some of the most violent criminals, including repeat offenders. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, FOX45 News.
And that brings us to our question of the day. Do you hope Ivan Bates gets tough on crime? So far, 98% of those who voted say yes. Go to foxbaltimore.com to make your voice heard.
New campaign finance reports reveal City Council President Nick Mosby received just 1 campaign donation this year. Records show he received $500 in July. Last year, he received $62,000 in campaign donations. For comparison, City Councilman Yitzi Schleifer has more than $300,000 in total. Eric Costello and Zeke Cohen both have more than $200,000 in their campaign accounts. Mayor Brandon Scott has more than $240,000 in his campaign account. Now, none of these leaders are up for re-election this year. All of their terms are up in 2024. According to one political expert, though, the City Council president's low campaign account could indicate that Nick Mosby isn't planning to run for re-election because fundraising early is usually very important.
The sort of folklore among politicians is you need to raise a lot of money early, because if you don't, then potential opponents will be encouraged to file for your office.
Professor Crenson says Nick Mosby could also be waiting until after his wife, City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby's federal trial is over so he can fundraise without the negative publicity.
A familiar problem seems to be flaring up again in Baltimore City, ATM thefts. Surveillance video shows one of the most recent thefts, which was reminiscent of last fall and winter. We saw several examples of these crimes around the city and county. Keith Daniels joins us live right now with more on this latest crime and the city's effort to deter the thieves. Keith?
Well, Kyle, we're live outside the Redfish liquor store here in Hamden. Now, thieves, ATM thieves, hit this business about 2 weeks ago, and tonight, more victims in this recent theft trend. At one time, it seemed to be happening so frequently. Automated teller machine thefts or attempted thefts across Baltimore City and surrounding counties. Mobilizing police, frustrating victims, a costly crime.
Damage the glass and the security guard.
Now, the search for 3 suspects in one of the city's latest cases. Take a good look at them. Police say these 3 men, one of them wearing colorful shoes, walked into a carryout on North Milton Avenue in East Baltimore late Friday afternoon. Investigators say the men took the ATM out the front door and loaded it into a blue Dodge Grand Caravan with Virginia tags. Last seen heading southbound on Milton. Christopher Herman,
they're wearing something that's unique to them, in this case the unique colored sneakers,
is an associate professor at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York. He calls surveillance video critical to investigations, even when faces are hidden.
Sometimes people move a specific way, sometimes people have a limp, or you can tell somebody is maybe right-handed or left-handed. based on the way that they're operating. So I get all of those things, narrow down your list of suspects.
Fox 45 News has reported extensively on the string of ATM thefts in recent years, with more than 30 cases in 2021. Police say there have been 20 ATM burglaries this year from June 1st through September 23rd. The crimes seemingly not as often as before, but perhaps picking back up, with some residents disturbed by what they see.
I mean, it's sad, man. You know, you got these people, hard workers, you know, trying to help the community.
Meanwhile, another theft over the weekend. Early Saturday morning, caught on camera. 3 thieves seen prying open the front door at the University Market on North Charles Street. They walk in, grab the ATM, carry it out the door, and into the back of a convertible.
Bottom line, surveillance footage is good for the investigation.
Well, we are back here live now. BPD's chief spokesperson Lindsay Eldridge told me tonight that the department has assigned a detective to each district as part of an initiative focused on ATM thefts, including prevention and, of course, apprehending those suspects. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
The remnants of Hurricane Ian continue to affect us. At the top of your screen, the Delmarva beaches. Terrible beach erosion created cliffs in Rehoboth Beach. And at high tide, there was actually no beach left. We'll take you there for a report on what it will take to repair the resort's main attraction. On the right, a live feed from Ocean City's fishing pier. The waves calming, but the flags show the wind is still howling. On the bottom right, that's Camden Yards, where tonight's Orioles game was postponed. I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but there is just one more rainy day ahead. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers has the forecast for us. Jonathan, I can't believe we're not going to see the sun tomorrow.
Was it like 4 or 5 days? One more rainy morning commute. Here it is, 6 a.m. through 7:30 a.m. on our future scan. You see the on and off showers and some of the drizzle. That goes through about 10:45, 11 o'clock. And things are going to improve later in the day. That's a tease, isn't it? 52 degrees at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 52. Up into the mid-50s by about 9, 10 a.m. Occasional showers, but notice the raindrops do begin to taper as we head toward midday. As those showers taper, temperatures come up too. I'm going to let you know when all of that's going to happen and when you're finally going to see a dry day and sun. That's coming up in a couple of minutes, my Weather Authority forecast.
Next on Fox 45 News at 10, safe streets under the microscope. The hearing scheduled as Fox 45 News investigates a major change in leadership at several sites. A man appearing to try to shoot another in the head, taken down by Good Samaritans in Maryland. See the incredible video as questions swirl why that suspect, a repeat violent offender, was freed after a gun conviction this May. And at 10:30, a new law cracks down on dirt bikes and street racing. We press the presumptive new city state's attorney on what his office will do to ensure it's enforced. Well, we are learning the City Council's Legislative Oversight Committee will hold a hearing on Safe Streets on October 20th. It's to brief the committee on recently announced changes to the program's policies, procedures, and service delivery.
Some of that change came last month when the mayor announced LifeBridge Health and Catholic Charities will assume oversight of all 10 locations.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost continues her investigation into the violence prevention program, shows us the latest questions from the accountability desk.
The changes coming to the Safe Streets program are already underway. And remember, this all started when Mayor Brandon Scott announced the restructuring of the entire program. Instead of having a patchwork of nonprofits or community-based organizations, now it'll be all under two different umbrellas. We'll have Catholic Charities overseeing some Safe Streets locations and LifeBridge Health Center for Hope overseeing the others. And we're already seeing some of these changes happen, right? Baylor, Edison, and McElderry Park are two locations that used to be overseen by Living Classrooms, now already migrating over into LifeBridge. And that brings us to the other community-based organizations, like Youth Advocates, Bon Secours, Park Heights Renaissance, the Family Health Center of Baltimore, and Living Classrooms. These community-based organizations will no longer be implementing the Safe Streets program, but they do say some of them will be still working with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, or MONSE. So with all of these changes happening, we continue to send them questions looking for a little more information about what this partnership looks like moving forward. How much money has your organization received from the city to implement Safe Streets? And please provide proof of that spending. When did your organization first learn of these changes? And was it a surprise? What will your role be with the city moving forward after these changes are complete? We sent these questions and we are starting to get some insight from some leaders within the CBOs. I recently caught up with the CEO of Living Classrooms at a different event and questioned him about the future of Safe Streets. Moving forward, what's the role with the Safe Streets, or is it just...
Well, we work very closely with Freedom and with Adam and LifeBridge, and we're partners, and we'll collaborate on a regular basis.
Now, when I sent Living Classrooms those other questions, I did get a pretty lengthy response, and I'll put their entire answer into this story on our website. I also got a response from Bon Secours. They tell me that they've been working with the city on this transition for months, so the announcement wasn't a surprise. We're still trying to figure out how much these contracts will be worth between the city of Baltimore and the CBOs. So that brings us here to City Hall, and with these two, we have the city solicitor, Jim Shea, and the comptroller, Bill Henry. Those two are involved in the contracts with the CBOs and the city, so because of that, we sent a few questions asking for the metrics used to determine disbursements of funds for the Safe Streets program, any and all contracts or RFPs between the city and the CBOs administering the Safe Streets program. So far, Jim Shea has ignored the questions, but we did get a response from Bill Henry's office who tell us a formal response to our questions should be coming by the end of this week. So we'll keep our eyes peeled to our email. In the meantime, there are still several questions for City Council President Nick Mosby. Remember a couple of weeks ago when the council president told me he had no idea these changes were coming to the Safe Streets program until it was announced in the news?
When it was reported in the media. So my team nor myself was provided any prior briefing on the restructuring of Safe Streets and this the new approach from the mayor.
Is that problematic to you?
Extremely problematic.
The mayor's office told me that someone was working on scheduling a meeting between someone in the Scott administration and the council president's office to talk about the changes coming to Safe Streets. So because of that, I sent Nick Mosby's office a few more questions. Have you met with anyone from Mayor Scott's office? Do you have faith in the Safe Streets program? Should City Council bring MONSE in for a hearing to get some answers about the Safe Streets program? So far, Council President Nick Mosby has ignored those questions. And that leads us to where we are now. So we know that these changes are happening, right, to the Safe Streets program and then this new management. Let's take a look at some of the screenshots from these websites. So this is a screenshot of LifeBridge's website from Monday, and this is Living Classrooms from Monday. You can see Living Classrooms no longer has any mention of the Safe Streets program, but the new locations that LifeBridge will be overseeing aren't updated on their site just yet. As these changes continue to happen with the Safe Streets program, we will continue to demand answers to make sure that we know exactly how your tax dollars are being spent, and these oversight processes are in place to ensure that this program is actually working. But as always, we need your help. Send me any tips about the Safe Streets program you think I need to look into at safestreetstips@gmail.com. And as these changes continue to happen, we'll keep digging to make sure you are informed about this program. At the Accountability Desk, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Take a look at this shocking video out of Prince George's County. Shows Good Samaritans tackling an armed suspect accused of trying to kill a man on Saturday. Our Sinclair sister station in Washington, D.C. got the video from sources in the Montgomery County Police Department. Police say it starts moments after Marcus Conway shot a man in the leg and chest. You can see the victim in an orange shirt struggling with Conway in the grass. It appears Conway tried to shoot the victim in the head, but the gun jammed. While police say the suspect was convicted in 2018 for assault and carjacking, in May of this year, he was found guilty of illegally possessing a firearm. Our sister station reached out to the Prince George's County State's Attorney's Office asking why Conway was out just 4 months after that conviction. So far, our questions have not been answered.
Well, we have seen a number of similar cases come from Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby's office. One of those deals is with convicted arsonist Luther Trent. He was originally released after serving less than 6 months in jail on a plea deal from Mosby's office. That plea deal was tossed because the victims in the case did not have a chance to provide impact statements before sentencing. Another is the case of Austin Davidson, the man accused of killing a Wicomico County Sheriff's deputy back in June. In 2019, he was charged with armed robbery in Baltimore City, but spent no time in jail. Plus, the man accused of dragging a police officer with his car this year, Joseph Black, had been arrested at least 19 times in the past. In 2021, he was allowed back on the streets after receiving a suspended sentence in connection with 2 separate gun arrests.
The remnants of Hurricane Ian leaving a permanent mark on the eastern shore. The damage it's already done to Delaware and Maryland beaches.
And not only has it been wet, but it's also been cold. Take a look. Temperatures today only in the mid-50s. Last year, same day, it was 85 degrees, and we should be in the mid-70s this time of year. We're going to get closer to that over the next several days. Take a look for Monday, or I should say on Thursday and Friday, rather, back into the mid-70s. Rain chances fall off. I'm going to let you know how it looks heading out to the pumpkin patch and if there's any more chances of rain in that 7-day forecast in a couple of minutes.
Well, the remnants of Hurricane Ian are taking a toll on Ocean City, causing flooding over just the last few days. On the right, a live look from Ocean City right now. You can see it is still pretty windy out there. Well, the remnants of Ian leaving a mark on the beaches in Delaware as well.
Brad Bell with our Sinclair sister station in Washington spent the day surveying the damage. He takes us to Bethany Beach in Delaware.
The good news is it feels like the wind has eased up a little bit, and it's not raining right now. It's been raining on and off all day long. But look, this storm, this weather pattern has done a lot of damage. Let me show it to you here. We're looking south down the beach towards Sea Colony, towards the big Sea Colony Resort. And what you see here is there is no more beach at all. The tide has swallowed the sand that was on the beach, and we're now just a little bit short of high tide. And you can see the waves are reaching the sand dune, the protective sand dune. The fencing here washed in. And as the tide continues to come up, we expect to see that we're going to lose more of the dune. Take a look right down here now. This handrail, well, that's where the beach ought to be, at the end of that white handrail, just below that. And you can see the sand is really about 6-7 feet below that. Now looking north, you can get a sense of this escarpment, this cliff that has been created. Significant amount of damage done to the dune, and the beach, as we said, is virtually gone. Now, this is the scene here in Bethany, a little bit north in Rehoboth. This is what we found.
In Rehoboth Beach, even at low tide when this video was taken, you can see the beach is mostly gone, with waves crashing nearly to the protective sand dune. Those timbers extending into the ocean, part of the storm drain system, and are normally covered by many feet of sand. With this evening's high tide, it's expected more sand will wash away. A sad spectacle for beach lovers gathering today to take pictures and see for themselves the damage done.
It's heartbreaking, but it's part of Mother Nature. You know, you give it, and she takes it.
Well, Fox 45 News is questioning the Baltimore County Police Department after a recent uptick in violent crime. What the county executive is answering regarding our questions of transparency.
Gas prices are on the rise again as Americans brace for higher prices to heat their homes this winter. A look at what's behind the rising prices. Those stories, much more, coming up in just 3 minutes. 8:30, a recent increase in violence in Baltimore County from Catonsville to Owings Mills to Perry Hall.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson is questioning whether the police department is sharing enough information with the public when violent crime happens.
At least 3 people shot, 2 of them teenagers, and a 4th man is dead. Tonight, Baltimore County Police are asking for the public's help finding the people responsible. 3 violent incidents in 3 consecutive days across Baltimore County. Saturday night, 2 teens, just 16 and 17, shot and critically wounded in Catonsville. Early Sunday, a man shot multiple times in Owings Mills. And last night, a homicide at an apartment complex in Perry Hall.
It's been a sad weekend, and anytime we see violence in our communities, it's concerning.
Despite this string of violence, the Baltimore County executive once again calling the county a safe community.
Our Baltimore County Police Department do an outstanding job of solving these types of crimes. We remind folks that if you commit a crime, we will find you, we will arrest you, we will hold you accountable.
But so far, no updates from police on suspects or arrests in any of these 3 incidents. And in cases like last night's fatality in Perry Hall, questions about transparency and timeliness of information. In a press release shared with Fox 45 News at 10:58 p.m. last night, Baltimore County Police said officers responded to a shots fired call 5 hours earlier. That's when they found a man dead, and homicide detectives are now investigating. But there's no mention of how that man died or any other basic info about the crime.
And that's disturbing.
Meanwhile, the Baltimore County Police Union also frustrated by the lack of information available to the public.
And the police department is not being as forthcoming with information that very much could quell the fear that's going on when you hear about severe incidents.
Even as the county executive calls transparency a hallmark of his administration.
My expectation of all agencies is that we are sharing that information with the public, with the media, because the public has a right to know. It's the only way that we're held accountable for how we operate.
Year to date, 23 people have been killed in Baltimore County. And when I asked him today, the county executive pointed to homicides being way down this year. He said about 50%. But it is important to note that last year in 2021, Baltimore County set a record high for homicides with 55 people killed. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Baltimore County has been seeing violent crime all year, including some incidents at Towson Town Center and its parking garage. Now, there were 2 separate carjackings in the garage and a massive fight in the mall earlier this year. County police officers have shot at least 5 people this year. The most recent happened last month when police say an officer shot a woman accused of hitting an off-duty officer with her car. The rising crime led 125 members of the County Police Union to hold a vote of no confidence in Police Chief Melissa Hyatt back in May. There are 1,900 officers on the force. At the time, County Executive Johnny Olszewski told Fox 45 he was confident in Hyatt's ability to lead the department, but his campaign rival, Republican nominee Pat McDonough, says that he would replace Hyatt if elected.
Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski is addressing the violence in Baltimore County schools. It comes after parents and community members held a rally yesterday demanding a solution to the violence. Video shared on social media last week shows a fight outside Perry Hall High School, similar to several other videos of fights we saw last school year. The county executive is putting some of the responsibility on parents themselves.
The most important thing is to be a good parent. We know the number one thing that impacts the child's success and well-being in school is parental involvement. And so our schools are open. I would actually encourage our parents to get out and get involved and be a presence in the school.
Fox 45 News reached out to the Baltimore County Public Schools. The spokesperson responded in a statement saying any behavior that creates a hostile school environment, disrupts learning, or interferes with a student's well-being will not be tolerated. It says students who violate those rules will face legal consequences.
Howard County Police are investigating a threat to River Hill High School in Clarksville. Police say they responded to the school around 2 o'clock this afternoon after a call claiming a student had a gun and bomb. Police say that call turned out to be a hoax, but first responders took no chances and slowly dismissed children in groups while investigating. Authorities are searching for the origin of the call and who made it.
Fox 45 News is holding city leaders accountable when it comes to enforcing laws on the books. That now includes a new one designed to address street racing. Mayor Brandon Scott signed the bill into law yesterday, allowing stiffer penalties for those caught doing stunts, street racing, or riding dirt bikes in the city. Now, some are critical of how effective the law will be.
If the police aren't going to enforce it now, what makes them think they're going to enforce this when there's just another law with a $1,000 fine?
Fox 45 News sent questions to the Baltimore Police Department today asking, is this a law the Baltimore Police Department is ready and prepared to enforce? And has the commissioner alerted district commanders of this new law and instructed officers in how to respond? So far, the department has not answered our questions. Well, incoming City State's Attorney Ivan Bates did respond to our question today, asking if he would prosecute this law. He says he looks forward to building credible cases to prosecute all laws in Baltimore City.
4 Baltimore Police Department employees will spend more than $12,000 taxpayer dollars to attend a training session in Texas. The Board of Estimates approved that spending today, leading some to question how much taxpayer money the city is spending on travel.
The Board of Estimates has to say no, and not just one time, but multiple times, because the city can't keep on spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on travel that just isn't needed.
Well, Baltimore citizens and taxpayers have seen taxpayers front the bill for several other trips lately. Among the most expensive trips, nearly $62,000 for a police training course in Boston and $33,000 for a Parks and Rec convention in Arizona. City Council President Nick Mosby used $3,000 to attend a conference in Ocean City. It's double the amount his colleagues who attended.
Former President Donald Trump wants the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene in the legal fight over classified documents taken from his Mar-a-Lago home. Last month, the federal appeals court allowed the Justice Department to review about 100 classified documents taken during the FBI search in August. Now, Trump's lawyers want the special master appointed in this case to review those documents to determine which cannot be used by the government. Trump's lawyers filed the emergency request with the Supreme Court to reverse the lower court ruling. Well, more than 1 million job openings were erased in August, which could be actually good news for cooling inflation. It is a sign that the labor gap is narrowing. Tuesday's government jobs report shows that layoffs remained historically low and hiring is unchanged. There were 10 million jobs advertised on the last day of August. That is down from 11 million in July and a record of nearly 12 million in March. Well, new tonight, America's second biggest employer, Amazon, is instituting a hiring freeze on the corporate side of its retail business that will last through the end of the year. The New York Times reports the company informed recruiters all open positions will close. A spokesperson for Amazon told the Associated Press the company expects to adjust hiring practices.
Gas prices are rising as Americans brace for higher home heating oil to heat their homes this winter. Kayla Gaskins takes a look at how the U.S. supply of oil and gas could be costing you more.
Filling up your gas tank is getting more expensive again.
I don't get paid until Friday, and unfortunately, I don't have any money to be able to afford these high prices.
Nationwide, gasoline up 7 cents since last week, but out west, prices are skyrocketing. In just a week, up 53 cents in California, 38 cents in Nevada, and 30 cents in Oregon and Washington.
This supply and demand imbalance has remained. We're concerned that this price environment is detrimental to America's energy security.
President Biden running out of possible solutions to lower prices as OPEC is expected to announce a record cut in production this week after the president asked Saudi Arabia in July to boost its output.
I got some criticism for releasing 1 million barrels of oil a day from a strategic petroleum reserve. And then along came the industry saying they'd produce another 1 million barrels a day by the spring.
But the petroleum reserve is at its lowest point in almost 4 decades, and U.S. production is not ramping up quickly enough to affect prices.
The best way to address this is to increase supply. And the best way to do that is to create an environment, an investment environment in which production is incentivized.
Americans also expected to face a home heating spike this winter, with residential natural gas prices already up 25% since last year. Despite the higher prices, the Biden administration reportedly committing to send more natural gas to Europe in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
When it comes to standing up against authoritarianism, standing up against Putin's attack on Ukraine, we are all in this together.
An idea that may be a harder sell if Americans are paying more to heat their homes this winter. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
Well, country music icon Loretta Lynn has died. She was 90 years old. The daughter of a Kentucky coal miner, Lynn's songs about growing up in a blue-collar Appalachia family endeared her to her fans. She was the first woman ever named Entertainer of the Year at country's 2 major award shows. In her career, that spans 6 decades, Lynn had 10 #1 albums, and she won 3 Grammys and was honored by President Obama with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Lynn's family says she died this morning peacefully in her sleep at home. And ahead on the late edition, how Nashville is honoring this music legend.
A new fiscal year begins, but the old challenges along the southern border remain. I'm Christine Frizzau in Washington with a look at how some top officials are responding.
And new tonight on the late edition, the former mayor of Flint, Michigan weighs in after 7 state officials see their water crisis charges dropped. Why she says it's a miscarriage of justice.
And the O's finishing up their season tomorrow at Camden Yards against the Blue Jays with a doubleheader. And we start the morning with some showers at 52 degrees at 8 a.m., but at about 12:30 when the game starts, well, the games start 57, a couple of showers, and it dries out by the end of the games in the afternoon. I'm going to let you know if we're going to have any more rain in that 7-day forecast in just a couple of minutes. A little bit of rain, a little bit of drizzle, still with the remnants of Ian. You see it here down towards Severna Park and Annapolis. Even here in Baltimore, not showing up because it's very light, but for the most part, there is still a little bit of drizzle here and there, and you're going to have some wet roads when you wake up tomorrow morning. Putting on the national view of the radar, you still see that big spin of, well, what was Ian and now is pretty much just a coastal low that continues to kind of sit in place, but it is gradually moving away. And that means we have improvements on the way for the remainder of the week. Right now, winds still out of the north and actually the northwest. That's a drying direction for us at about 15 miles an hour or so. Some gusts still up to about 15 to 25 area-wide. So still that biting wind. The good news also down the ocean way, Delaware beaches, Maryland beaches, we have dropped all advisories and warnings for coastal flooding. But still, this system does make that spin, and it is eventually going to get some legs and get out of here for, especially later tomorrow. We're going to start seeing that rain come to an end totally, although it's still going to be kind of a cool and dank day as we work into Wednesday. But then Thursday, oh, you wait. Now notice the position of our storm system, our weather maker, does start moving just ever so slowly east as we head toward later on Wednesday. And that'll also take this cooler air with it. 52 right now, only made it into the mid-50s this afternoon. Winds out of the northwest at about 8 miles an hour. Even a little bit of a wind chill. Some areas feeling like the low to mid-40s right now. So bundle up and get that rain jacket out all the way through tomorrow morning's commute. And the tropics loading up again. A high chance of development. Perhaps could have our next tropical depression here, moving over the Windward Islands in the next few days. And it looks like most computer models keep this farther south than what happened with Ian this past time around. So that's some good news. But again, it's something that we're going to watch. And then there's also tropical depression number 12 that looks like it really doesn't strengthen very much, remains out in the open Atlantic and eventually just kind of diminishes. So overnight tonight, the on and off rain and drizzle, going to be drizzly tomorrow morning, maybe a little bit of fog as well. But notice after about noontime starts to dry out and even some clearing tomorrow night. How about that into Thursday? So the end is near. 48 degrees, occasional rain, drizzle, breezy tonight. Breezes die down a little tomorrow. Still cool, 61, moist. If you're going to be hitting the pumpkin patch, maybe getting your pumpkins for the year here into tomorrow afternoon, your best time to do it. But hey, why not wait until this weekend? Look at this. Thursday, Friday, mid-70s, cool down for the weekend for pumpkin patches and the Ravens game. Highs in the 60s, lows in the low 40s.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis provides an update on recovery efforts in the state at the site of the first disaster recovery center activated so far. He says efforts are ramping up around the barrier islands of Southwest Florida like Pine, Sanibel, and Captiva Islands. Crews aim to patch up the bridge to Pine Island by the end of this week and hope to figure out a temporary solution to the Sanibel Causeway. The state has conducted more than 2,300 rescues and welfare checks at nearly 80,000 homes and businesses. DeSantis says the search and rescue capabilities are historic.
There's more urban search and rescue capability in Florida since this storm than has ever been in one place, in one state, since 9/11. When they were in New York City.
Well, DeSantis touts his state budget, which includes a disaster relief fund of $500 million for emergencies like this. President Biden arrives to survey the damage and recovery tomorrow. For the first time, U.S. Customs and Border Protection encountered more than 2 million migrants at the southern border over a year. As national correspondent Christine Frizzell reports, the sheer number are overwhelming those charged with keeping the peace.
The reality on the ground continues to confound local leaders. Del Rio, Texas Sector Border Chief Jason Owens tweeting out these photos from last week. Other border chiefs tweeting updates like this from the weekend. More than 1,400 migrants apprehended, plus major criminal arrests and drug seizures.
The reality is business has never been as good for the cartels as it is right now under this administration's open border policies.
Critics of the Biden administration's border policy continuing to sound alarm bells about the implications.
If you can't successfully control and track who's coming into your country, then that's an enormous vulnerability, an enormous national security vulnerability.
Border officials now telling Fox News they believe there were nearly 600,000 gotaways in the fiscal year which just ended. Compare that to less than 390,000 the year before and 60,000 in 2020. For those who come forward and ask for asylum, Republican governors like Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis have come under fire for transporting them to cities like Washington, D.C. and New York City, where resources are running low.
The far right is doing the wrong thing. The far left is doing nothing. I mean, the silence, I don't believe the silence that I'm hearing.
Small cities have struggled as well. This was the scene in El Paso last month. The Democratic mayor there also sending many on buses, but insisting he's giving officials on the other side a heads up.
We talk to them and we say, where do you want to go? What's your destination? And then we will take them and help them get to their destination.
Looming over the question of the best way to respond is, of course, politics. A new Reuters Ipsos poll found 45% of Americans believe transporting migrants across state lines is illegal human trafficking. But also 49% of Americans believe Democrats complaining about those migrants being sent to their cities or states are hypocrites. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzau.
Ahead on the late edition, bus drivers slammed by a shortage get a boost in Anne Arundel County. The aid headed their way and when certain bus routes could reopen. Tom Brady bailed on retirement this offseason, but at what cost? How Gisele's latest move could doom their marriage. Plus, a huge showdown Sunday as the Ravens face their first divisional opponent. How Coach Harbaugh plans to put the painful losses behind him. That's ahead on Sports Unlimited.
All rise for some MLB history. Having the record, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, but, you know, steroids. Through the first month of the NFL season, the Eagles are the only team perfect at 4-0. The Texans the only team without a win, just a tie. The top record in the AFC is 3-1, owned by the Dolphins, Bills, and Chiefs. And the Ravens, 2-2, are tied at the top of their division with AFC North play opening up in Week 5. That's what you call a bounce-back opportunity when the Ravens host the Bengals for Sunday Night Football. That's the focus, not the fact the Ravens have lost 5 straight at home and dropped 2 straight this season, went up 17 points or more after winning and closing out 61 straight times under John Harbaugh with leads like that prior to it.
Our guys
are going to be thinking about getting the next stop or getting the next first down, the next touchdown, and that's what we'll go to work on. So, that confidence comes when you do good things. So we built confidence against New England, and we played better in this game in a lot of ways than we have all season. So there's a lot of improvement within that outcome. You want the outcome to be a win, but it wasn't. But there's a lot of improvement within that, so we just keep building on that.
Only 2 left for the O's, but they have to wait until tomorrow. Blue Jays Orioles tonight postponed for a doubleheader tomorrow at 12:30.
Well, ahead on the late edition, one politician on the way out, another likely preparing to take office. Why a meeting between Governor Hogan and Ivan Bates drawing attention from local political experts. But first, looking to hone your seafood skills, how you can get a firsthand experience as a shucker this weekend. Well, trending now, you can stop and take a shelfie at the World Is Your Oyster Fest. Yes, it is local seafood and party with a purpose, benefiting the Oyster Recovery Partnership. There you can learn to shuck like a pro or put your skills to the test with the first annual shucking contest. It's happening this Saturday from 12 to 4 at the B&O Railroad Museum. For more information, go to foxbaltimore.com/newslinks.
Well, a community is shocked as a father's body is found on the side of the road. His son is a suspect. Tonight, the search for answers. ATM thefts have been down for a good part of this year, but a spike this week has small business owners and community members on edge.
And our latest weather maker, boy, it's been with us for days, even still some rain. But you know what? It's going to be on its way out. I'm going to let you know when the sun returns and temperatures could be in the 70s. My Weather Authority forecast.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News Late Edition.
Thank you for joining us on the late edition. I'm Kai Jackson. We begin with the chilling discovery in Carroll County. After finding a dismembered body on the side of the road in Westminster, police are charging the victim's son with murder. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor obtained charging documents that detail the shocking crime.
Yeah, tonight, police not responding to our request for an interview, but charging documents I was able to get my hands on tell the gruesome story of how his son killed his own father with an axe. Neighbors and those who knew him saying that they are still in shock.
It was horrible to hear what we had heard yesterday.
I was like, holy crap, like that happened around here.
In an otherwise peaceful part of rural Carroll County.
It's a very quiet, small town. Nothing crazy ever happens around here.
A disturbing discovery has Carroll Point residents on edge.
I just read the report this afternoon, and it was disgusting, to be honest.
A police report making its way around town revealing 29-year-old Ravi Panseria accused of brutally killing his 58-year-old father, then dumping his dismembered body along this roadway just a few miles from their home. The body so mangled at first, the father was unidentifiable.
Unbelievable. Like, I couldn't believe it.
The report claims the father was reported missing by his wife and Panseria's mother, who all lived together at the time this tragedy occurred. It goes on to say Panseria's weapon of choice, quote, numerous tools were located in the garage which appeared to have blood, tissue, and hair on them. They also found an Ozark Trail hatchet purchased by Panseria at Walmart the morning of the murder.
I feel like I remember his father being a little bit more on the strict side, like when it came to like school and stuff. But again, like that, it was just 11 years ago.
Nicholas Higgins says he went to high school with Panseria.
He was just a normal kid, you know, grew up, rode in the bus together.
He never expected something so terrifying could happen not far from his front door.
It's terrible. My hearts and prayers go out for the family.
He also prays it never happens again.
I hope nobody ever has to go through that, you know, themselves ever again around here.
My heart goes out to that mom.
Panseria is being held behind bars without bail tonight. He's facing both first and second-degree murder charges. Reporting out of Carroll County, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
There's concern after a series of ATM thefts in Baltimore, some caught on camera. The search is on for 3 men who walked into a carryout on North Milton Avenue in East Baltimore Friday afternoon. Police say the men took an ATM right out the front door, loaded it up in a car, and drove away. A similar swipe happened last month at Redfin Liquors in Hamden. Now, in most of these investigations, surveillance is the key, according to police.
Sometimes people move a specific way. Sometimes people have a limp, or you can tell somebody is maybe right-handed or left-handed based on the way that they're operating. So again, all of those things narrow down your list of suspects.
Well, the thefts are becoming less common. Only 20 ATM burglaries happened this year after more than 30 in 2021. Potentially part of the reason Baltimore police have assigned a specific detective to each district focusing on ATM thefts. Governor Larry Hogan and presumptive new city state's attorney Ivan Bates met today in Annapolis. Bates is running unopposed in this November's election and has been vocal about bringing change to the city state's attorney's office. Governor Hogan shared a message on social media saying he hopes Bates is committed to the path forward for holding violent criminals accountable in the city. Mayor Brandon Scott and his administration have leaned on Safe Streets as a violence intervention organization, but the program is in a transition period. LifeBridge Health Center for Hope and also Catholic Charities will be the only 2 community-based organizations overseeing the program. Both groups say they've been working out details of the transition with City Hall, and the Legislative Oversight Committee will hold a hearing on Safe Streets October 20th. Another gloomy night as we take a live look at Camden Yards. Too wet for the O's game tonight. They'll play a doubleheader to close out the season tomorrow. Here's Jonathan with what we can expect. Jonathan?
Yeah, that's at 12:35 tomorrow afternoon, and 2 games, of course, back-to-back. And I think as we finish up the O's season tomorrow, finally, Ian's remnant moisture and this coastal system are going to be getting out of here. So I think we could get those games off. Could be a rain delay perhaps at the beginning, but nonetheless, notice a shower still Annapolis to Selby on the Bay, becoming more and more dispersed as we work through the night. Still going to have some fog. Again, still going to have some showers, but the showers are becoming more scattered, at least the ones that are heading in from the east. And eventually, this system's going to pack its bags and move out totally. Taking a look here, superimposed over beautiful Camden Yards on our Toyota Asian Harbor Skycam. Right now, BWI, it's cloudy, 51. Some on and off rain in some spots like Annapolis, Easton, and Westminster, where we have upper 40s and low 50s. Bus stop forecast. No, I've been putting my kids in the pants and heavy rain jackets past couple of days. Rain showers at drop-off time, so it's another day of that for tomorrow, at least to start. But by lunchtime, maybe a scattered shower left over, maybe still also an indoor recess. But pickup time, just clouds and 60. I'll let you know when sunshine and 70s come back. We got it hour by hour coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Now, a Fox 45 News Alert in 3, 2, 1.
Baltimore police need your help to find a killer following a deadly shooting in northeast Baltimore in August. Police say Darius Jones, pictured on the right, was shot and killed along Bradhurst Road on August 11th. Police are offering an $8,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest. Anybody who may have a tip can contact Metro Crime Stoppers. The Baltimore City police officer is accused of killing his stepson, entering an Alford plea, meaning he thinks a jury will find him guilty but doesn't actually admit guilt. Anne Arundel County police say Eric Banks killed his stepson in July of last year. His stepson's body was found in a crawl space at the family home. Banks faces up to 50 years in prison. Kai?
Mary, thank you. River Hill High School in Clarksville, Howard County was locked down for about 2 hours this afternoon. Now, police swarmed that school after a call came in claiming a student had a gun and bomb. Now, it turned out to be a hoax, but first responders did their due diligence and locked the building down, safely clearing students in small groups. Tonight, authorities are still searching for the origin of that call and the person who made it.
Angers you, it disappoints you, but it's not surprising, and I think to say not surprising is the worst part of all.
Charges have been dropped against 7 people allegedly involved in the Flint water crisis. Why a Michigan judge let them off the hook. Rescue crews hard at work searching for hurricane survivors in southwest Florida. Why Governor Ron DeSantis is calling those efforts historic. Here's a look at today's top trending stories right now. Number 1, 7 people allegedly involved in the Flint water crisis are no longer facing charges. Those people, including 2 Michigan health officials, have been accused of failing to warn the Flint area about contamination in that water. Well, they had previously been indicted, but a Michigan Supreme Court judge now says that court had no authority to issue the indictments. The decision to drop the charges is drawing some mixed reaction from city officials.
There are ways to affect change when you disagree or object to what your officials do. And one of them is to vote them out of office or pursue other means. But charging them with crimes, at least in this instance, we didn't think was the proper way.
Angers you, it disappoints you, but it's not surprising. And I think to say not surprising is the worst part of all. It's the worst part of all, because, you know, we here in the city of Flint were led to believe, we were told, I was told, that justice delayed is not justice denied.
Well, a poll last month found nearly 1 in 4 Flint residents suffers from PTSD surrounding the state of the city's water supply. Number 2, Elon Musk and Twitter have finally come to an agreement. The Tesla CEO is buying the social media giant for $44 billion. After the news, Twitter stock rose 22%, the biggest single-day jump since Musk's original announcement in April. Musk had tried to pull out of the agreement earlier this year, and Twitter threatened legal action if he didn't go through with the sale. Number 3, star quarterback Tom Brady may be losing one of his rings. We're not talking about a Super Bowl ring. Brady and supermodel Gisele Bundchen are both expected to hire divorce lawyers in the coming days. After 13 years of marriage, it's been a rocky few months for the couple. Brady originally retired at the end of last season to spend more time with his family before ultimately returning for another season in Tampa. Baltimore County parents express worry about their kids' safety after a series of school fights, while the county executive is moving responsibility back to them.
And may tomorrow be the day for an outdoor recess? Maybe, but we still have a chance of showers, I think, through about the lunchtime hour. But look at this. By the end of the day, rain chances drop to 0. I'm going to let you know when the sun comes back out, and we could have some 70s around here hour by hour. It's my Weather Authority forecast.
Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski is addressing the ongoing violence in Baltimore County schools. Now, this comes after parents and community members held a rally yesterday demanding a solution to the violence. Video shared on social media last week shows a fight outside Perry Hall High, similar to other fights that we saw last school year. The county executive is putting responsibility on parents as well.
The most important thing is to be a good parent. We know the number one thing that impacts the child's success and well-being in school is parental involvement. And so our schools are open. I would actually encourage our parents to get out and get involved and be a presence in the school.
Fox 45 News reached out to Baltimore County Public Schools. A spokesperson responded in a statement saying any behavior that creates a hostile school environment, disrupts learning, or interferes with a student's well-being will not be tolerated. It says students who violate those rules will face legal consequences. Nearly 40 school bus routes in Anne Arundel County are reopening after major staffing concerns this year. Those routes will begin October 17th. Video shared with Fox 45 earlier this school year showed children standing when all seats were taken up, some even sitting down. County Executive Stuart Pittman thanked 6 council members for approving more than $5 million in funding to hire and retain bus drivers in that county. The main concern over the past year had been non-competitive wages. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says Southwest Florida recovery efforts are ramping up in the wake of Hurricane Ian. Barrier Islands are drawing most of the attention from the first disaster recovery center. At least 105 people have died from the storm in Florida alone, prompting rescue crews to go door to door looking for survivors. The governor says he's seen historic efforts from rescuers.
There's more urban search and rescue capability in Florida since this storm than has ever been in one place, in one state, since 9/11, when they were in New York City.
Florida's Republicans in Congress have been sluggish on approving a hurricane relief spending bill. Neither senator voted in favor of an expanded FEMA budget. President Biden will visit tomorrow. Well, we're still feeling Ian's impact in the mid-Atlantic area. In fact, you can see eroded beach left behind by the storm. This is in Rehoboth Beach. That's Delaware. It will be a costly off-season repair. Here's Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of beach rejuvenation projects there on the Delaware and Maryland coastlines. Man, just really a shame there. But, of course, nothing compared to what they saw down in Florida. But this is at least part and parcel of some of the remnants of Ian, and also now kind of combining with and changing to a coastal system. You see some of the rain, Selby on the Bay to Hidden Hills, Severna Park, Mitchellville down towards the D.C. area. But take a look north and east of us where our weather's coming from, or where it's been coming from. Starting to slacken off quite a bit. So doesn't mean it's going to be dry for the remainder of the night, but there are some pretty significant breaks here, and it's more so very light rain and drizzle, and this is the trend that we're going to see as we head through the next several hours and really into about midday tomorrow. The gradual drying and the gradual switch of the wind direction, the gradual slackening of the wind, which has really helped out in Ocean City as well as up the Delaware coastline, kind of pushing that water back out to sea once again where it belongs. And you can see those winds here. They're coming now more so inland direction from northwest to southeast. 14 miles an hour at Annapolis, 12 miles an hour at Chestertown. Still some gusts up to about 20, but even that is going to come down late night tonight and during the day tomorrow as our storm system. Again, that's our latest weather maker. It's been so darn stubborn. It's been around for, 4 or 5 days since really just the generic remnants of Ian came through. It's just really had a hard time getting out of here. And finally now, it is going to be pulling east, taking the blustery winds, the onshore winds, the high tides, and the rain, and the cool temperatures all with it. Notice by tomorrow, the position of the storm system gradually pushing eastbound. And there's the backside of the rain west of Baltimore. So even in time for the doubleheader for those final 2 games of that Big O season that we've seen, I think we will be gradually drying out. 51 degrees, cloudy skies now on the Mile 1 Tascam. Could have some fog, some drizzle overnight. Temperatures in the low 50s, dropping into the 40s later with that wind out of the northwest now at 9 miles an hour. Mile 1 Tascam still showing some of the wetness around. And with those winds up around 10 miles an hour, some of those chilly temperatures feeling even colder. Westminster 43, 46 at Gaithersburg. Make sure that you pack along the heavier jacket with the kids again for tomorrow morning. Might even still need the rain jacket for a few more hours. And now down in the tropics, hard to believe, but after Fiona After Ian, we now have another high chance of development that ends up going over the Windward Islands. And at least for now, the good news is, although some of these tracks have started to kind of arc a little bit, you see at the end of their tracks here to the north, which would take it a little closer to the Gulf of Mexico. For the most part, the tracks, and this is just kind of like throwing darts at this point, since it's at least about 5 to 10 days out, they are going out toward Nicaragua and Central America. So hopefully, if it does become something, we'll keep that thing shunted south away from the United States. Now, there is a newly formed tropical depression, number 12, but conditions becoming hostile for this. So it looks like that'll be falling apart in the next about 36 hours, but that's way out in the open Atlantic, should not impact land. Now, the future scan overnight, you still get this picture of some of the on and off rain and the drizzle through about 6 a.m., 7:30 a.m. Again, could have some wet roadways to deal with in the morning, some road spray too. And then during the afternoon, how about it? Finally, the rain disappears. We haven't seen this in a long time. A future scan with just some clouds by 10:45 p.m. tomorrow evening. So I think tomorrow afternoon's drier, even drier yet tomorrow night, and could even begin clearing out. 48 degrees, occasional rain, drizzle, breezy for tonight. Tomorrow, 61 degrees, a moist morning, still cool. During the afternoon, just primarily some clouds. How about 75 Thursday? What a treat. 75 Friday. We're at or above average there. It doesn't last long, though. A cold front comes through. Could even have some frost in some of the outlying areas early Saturday morning, especially early Sunday morning. Highs low to mid-60s. Ravens game preparing there. Doing a little tailgating. Sunshine, 65. The Ravens game in the evening going to be cool. Temperatures falling through the 50s and pretty nice into early next week. Not a whole lot of rain in that forecast after tonight and tomorrow morning.
Jonathan, thank you. Still ahead, a country music icon is remembered. How Loretta Lynn, an entertainment trailblazer, will live on in Nashville. America lost a country music icon with the passing of Loretta Lynn this afternoon. Tributes are pouring in across the country, including from the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee, where she spent nearly 60 years performing. Caitlin Miller from our Sinclair sister station takes us through the measures to honor her legacy.
Loretta's family says she passed away peacefully in her sleep at her ranch in Hurricane Mills.
When you awake in the morning and you know you've just lost a treasure, it's kind of heartbreaking.
T.G. Shepard went on tour with Loretta, and they appeared on the show Hee Haw together. Shepard says Loretta symbolizes the American dream for anyone who wants to make it in country music.
Loretta Lynn, to me, was one of the strongest forces that helped propel country music worldwide.
Several other country music legends like Dolly Parton share beautiful words about Loretta. Dolly Parton says we've been like sisters all of the years, and she was a wonderful human being. Loretta was inducted into more music halls of fame than any female recording artist, and was the first female to win CMA Entertainer of the Year. Superstar Miranda Lambert was by her side when Loretta celebrated 50 years at the Grand Ole Opry.
Every time I'm around her, I just realize what she's done for women in country music. And, you know, the reason that I feel like I get to stand up here is because of what she laid the groundwork for. And
Loretta was a member of the Opry for 60 years.
There's so many memories at the Grand Ole Opry. I mean, you ain't sang unless you've been on the Grand Ole Opry.
And they are honoring Loretta all week and dedicating Saturday night's show to her.
I don't think we'll ever be able to measure Loretta's impact on either country music or the Grand Ole Opry. I mean, Coal Miner's Daughter, the movie alone, introduced millions and millions of people to this wonderful show we have here in Nashville.
Grand Ole Opry's Dan Rogers says she's one of a kind, and there will never be another one like her.
Well, never has a John Harbaugh Ravens team blown leads of 17 points or more until this season. Why he's not worried about a repeat this Sunday. That's ahead on Sports Unlimited. That's all for us on the late edition. I'm Kai Jackson. Here's Morgan Atzip with Sports Unlimited. Morgan.
Thank you so much, Kai. The Orioles have 2 left to reach 162 and wrap up a remarkable season. One we didn't see coming, their first winning season since 2016. But they will have to wait until tomorrow due to rain. The O's and Blue Jays are postponed a traditional single-mission doubleheader to wrap it all up tomorrow starting at 12:30. All rise, though, for some MLB history tonight. Yankee slugger Aaron Judge, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, but those come with steroids. Through the first month of the NFL season, the Eagles are the only perfect team at 4-0. The Texans the only team with no wins, just a tie. So the top record in the AFC is at 3-1. Dolphins, Bills, and Chiefs. The Ravens 2-2 and tied at the top of their division with AFC North play opening up in Week 5. That's what we can call a bounce-back opportunity when the Ravens host the Bengals for Sunday Night Football. That's the focus, at least, not the fact that Ravens have lost 5 straight at home and dropped 2 straight when up 17 points or more this season after winning and closing out 61 straight times under John Harbaugh with leads like that prior.
Our guys are going to be thinking about getting the next stop or getting the next first down, the next touchdown, and that's what we'll go to work on. So, you know, that confidence comes when you do good things. So we built confidence against New England, and we played better in this game in a lot of ways than we have all season. So there's a lot of improvement within that outcome. You want the outcome to be a win, but it wasn't. But there's a lot of improvement within that, so we just keep building on that.
If anyone isn't worried and knows it's a long season, it is John Harbaugh. He really shouldn't sweat primetime games, at least at home. The Ravens are 18-2 under him, 7-1 on Sunday night at home. As far as the 4th and goal play call decision to go for the touchdown against the Bills, no regrets. Outside linebacker Dafe away, not letting Devin Singletary score instead of going for the strip. He did knock the ball loose, by the way, not worried. And he's really not sweating a dust up with all-pro corner Marcus Peters.
We're going to be great friends for the rest of our lives, you know, and we're going to look back and when we see each other at the reunion one day, we'll probably be, you know, I'll probably put him in a headlock, you know. If you think it's not going to be like that in these kind of environments, then, you know, maybe it's a perfect world, but I don't worry about that stuff.
The Steelers have officially made the switch at QB1 on the depth chart. Kenny Pickett replaced a bench Mitch Trubisky Sunday against the Jets, and this will be their quarterback moving forward. Pickett is the first rounder to take over in Pittsburgh since Ben Roethlisberger in 2004. Pickett was 10 for 13, 120 yards, 3 interceptions, and 2 rushing touchdowns in their Sunday loss to the Jets. The Ravens face the Steelers in weeks 14 and 17. The Dolphins already ruled out Tua Tagovailoa for Week 5 due to a concussion, and there's tons of questions and controversy still surrounding why that did not happen back in Week 3 and how he played just 4 days later in Cincinnati. But with that being said, Miami's quarterback is doing well and even got a visit from his brother Talia, Maryland's quarterback, after the Terps beat Michigan State Saturday.
My brother's my heart. You know, he's someone I look up to, someone I talk to every day and stuff like that. So it was just a hard scene for me to, you know, see that. I appreciate all the support and the love for my brother. I got to see him after the game on Saturday. I went to Florida, and he's doing good. You know, everything's fine.
And that is excellent to hear. That is all for Sports Unlimited tonight. I'm Morgan Adsit. Thanks for watching and have a great night.